The coworker who always looks more put together than you has $6,700 in credit card debt and nothing in savings. The lease car, the watch, the vacations, that image is the entire budget. If you have ever felt behind, looking at someone who looks richer, the gap might be running the other direction. If you are 35 to 50, earning a solid salary, and you still feel like you are losing some invisible competition at work, this is not a discipline problem. It is an architecture problem. And today we are going to name it, price it, and dismantle it. The math behind what I am about to show you is worse than most people expect. Let's get into it. Marcus sits 2 desks over. He leases a new SUV. He wears the right shoes. Every few months, there is a new vacation photo on his phone. He always seems slightly ahead of you. You do not know his salary. You do not know his balance sheet. But you feel it, that quiet friction of comparison, that low hum of being behind. Here is what you do not see. Marcus has 2 credit cards carrying a combined balance north of $11,000. His minimum payments eat $200 a month. He has no emergency fund. His net worth, if you subtracted what he owes from what he owns, is negative. Marcus is not wealthy. Marcus is performing wealth. And he is paying 21% interest for the privilege of the performance. What I call image financing is the practice of funding visible signals of success with high interest debt. It is not about being reckless. It is not about being stupid. It is about a very specific cultural pressure that convinces people their image is an investment. It is not. It is a subscription, and the bill comes every month at 21%. Most people have heard of lifestyle creep. Image financing is something sharper. Lifestyle creep means your spending drifts upward as your income rises. Image financing means your spending is specifically directed at the things other people can see. The leased car rather than the paid-off Honda. The restaurant rather than the meal at home. The designer bag carried into the meeting. These are not random purchases, they are strategic signals. And when they are financed on credit, they come with a hidden cost that nobody posts on Instagram. If you want deep dives like this every week, one that respects your intelligence and does not waste your time, subscribe to Sarah's Money Map. It is the best return on investment for your time today. Now let's look at the actual price tag. The average American carries about $6,700 in credit card balance. At 21% annual interest, that balance generates roughly $1,400 in interest charges every year. That is $117 a month. Gone. Not going toward the car, not going toward the vacation, not going toward anything visible at all. Just the fee for having borrowed money to look a certain way last year. Now picture that as a graph. 1 bar is Marcus's monthly spending on visible things. His lease payment, his dining out, his travel. The bar is tall and bright. Right next to it, almost invisible, is the second bar. That is his interest payment, $117 every month, quietly draining. He does not think about it. It does not show up in any photo. It just runs in the background, compounding, while the first bar keeps getting taller. Here is where it gets worse. The average household with credit card debt carries closer to $9,300 in balances. Some households tip past $11,000. At that level, the interest alone runs over $2,400 a year. $200 a month? That is $200 that cannot go to an emergency fund, cannot go to retirement, cannot go to anything that builds actual net worth. It is a toll. A monthly toll on the road to looking successful. Now let's run the comparison that nobody runs at the office. Marcus pays $200 a month in credit card interest. Claire sits across the hall. She drives a 6-year-old Honda Civic paid off. Her cards carry 0 balance. She takes that same $200 a month and puts it into a low-cost index fund. At 7% annual return, that $200 a month becomes roughly $34,000 in 10 years. Marcus's $200 went to interest. Claire's $200 became $34,000, same salary. same office, same decade. The difference is invisible unless you know where to look. This is what I call the whole budget. When your image is your entire financial plan, when every dollar above rent goes towards signals other people can see, there is nothing left behind the curtain. The whole budget means the image is not funded by wealth. The image is the strategy. And the strategy has a 0 in the savings column. You might be thinking, okay, but what if Marcus genuinely enjoys the lifestyle? What if the lease actually brings him joy? I want to address that directly because it is the most honest objection. If the lease brings real joy and he has fully funded his emergency fund and his retirement account and has room to breathe, then fine. Spend on joy. That is the point of earning money. But the data says that is not what is happening for most people running this pattern. Bankrate found that 43% of Americans cannot cover a $1,000 unexpected expense from savings. Nearly a quarter have nothing saved at all. The people driving the nicest cars in the lot are not necessarily the people with the most margin. They are often the people with the least. The deeper mechanism is this: we are wired for social comparison. It is not a character flaw, it is biology. Research consistently finds that viewing other people's consumption, especially visible luxury spending, triggers a direct response in the observer. We see it and we want to match it. We feel behind if we do not. This is the engine that makes image financing so persistent. The comparison never stops, the feed never ends. There is always another Marcus, always another vacation photo, always another signal that you are not quite where you should be. And here is the twist that most financial content misses. The people generating those signals are often the most financially fragile people in the room. The coworker with the lease and the nice shoes and the constant restaurant photos is statistically more likely to be carrying 5 figures of debt than the coworker who brings lunch and drives the paid-off Corolla. The visible scorecard is running backward. Americans paid $253 billion in credit card interest and fees in 2025. That is not rich people building wealth. That is a lot of people paying a premium to look like they already have it. Let me show you what the real balance sheet looks like. Not the Instagram version, the actual one. 2 columns. Column 1 is assets, column 2 is liabilities. Most people can tell you what is in column 1. The car, the wardrobe, the apartment. What they cannot tell you is what is in column 2. The card balance, the interest accruing daily. The minimum payment that keeps the cycle running. Net worth lives in the gap between those 2 columns. And for a household carrying $11,000 in credit card debt at 21%, that gap is shrinking every single month. Here's the number I want you to hold. $117 a month in interest on average individual card debt. Over 10 years, that is $14,000 paid to a bank for nothing. No asset at the end, no equity, no return. Just the cost of having borrowed money to fund signals that other people forgot about the week after they saw them. The bar that matters is not the one people can see. It is the one that runs silently in the opposite direction. Now here's the protocol. 3 steps, executable this week. Step 1 is to run your actual balance sheet. Open every credit card account you have. Write down the balance and the interest rate. Not to shame yourself, to make the invisible number visible. Most people have a rough sense of what they owe, but have never added it up and priced the annual interest cost. Do the math. Balance times interest rate equals your annual interest bill. Divide by 12. That is your monthly toll. Once you see it as a line item, it becomes real in a way that the debt itself does not. Step 2 is to identify your image financing line items. These are purchases you made primarily because of how they would look to others, not because of the utility they provide to you. The lease you chose because it was newer than your coworkers. The dinners you charged because the table looked right on your phone. The shoes that live mostly in the closet. This is not a judgment, it is a category audit. What percentage of your card balance is image financing versus genuine utility? For most people who do this exercise honestly, The number is higher than they expected. Step 3 is to redirect the toll. If you are carrying a balance at 21%, paying it down is a guaranteed 21% return. There is no index fund in the world that guarantees 21%. Once the balance is at zero, that former monthly interest payment becomes yours. Put it somewhere that builds. A high-yield savings account for your emergency fund first, then a low-cost index fund for the long term. The $200 a month that was going to the bank starts going to you. 10 years later, it is $34,000 instead of receipts. The freedom reframe here is simple, but it matters. You do not need to look wealthy to be free. Wealth is not the car in the lot. It is not the watch. It is not the vacation caption. Wealth is the number of months you can stop working and not panic. It is the ability to say no to a bad project or a bad boss without your mortgage becoming a crisis. It is sleeping through the night without running the mental math on what happens if something breaks next week. Marcus cannot sleep through the night. Not really. He has $11,000 of debt and zero cushion. One unexpected expense, and the whole image starts to crack. Claire drives the old Civic and sleeps fine. She has $22,000 in a high-yield savings account. She has $180,000 in index funds. Nobody in the office can see any of that. It does not photograph well, but it is the only score that actually matters. The coworker who looks richer than you is often the coworker who is most trapped. The image is not evidence of wealth. It is frequently evidence of debt. And the quieter person, the one who brings their own coffee and drives the paid-off car, is often the one who is 3 missed paychecks away from fine instead of 3 missed paychecks away from crisis. Stop comparing yourself to the visible scorecard. Start running the real one. Drop a comment with your honest answer. What is one thing in your budget right now that is more about how it looks than what it does for you? I read all of them. And if you are 35 to 50 trying to close the gap between what you earn and what you actually keep, hit subscribe. We publish one of these every day. I will see you in the next one.